Farm. Family. Community. This is Midwest Farm Weekly.
Good morning, I'm Elaine Wells, and thank you for joining us on Midwest Farm Weekly. Farmers for Sustainable Food and Peninsula Pride Farms have worked together since 2020 to create a baseline set of information related to their farming footprint on greenhouse gas emissions, water quality, soil erosion, and energy efficiencies. Following 3 years of data collection and analysis of 11 local farms from Door and Kewaunee County, they got their scores. I had the chance to speak to one of the participating farms to see how they did and how others can benefit from this research.
We are a part of this community. Our farm is a part of this community. Our neighbors are not just neighbors, they're friends, they are extended family. We are all sharing the same natural resources, and we want to pass those down to the next generation the same way everybody else does. So to do that, you need to take care of it.
Paul Cornette's ancestors settled in the Luxembourg area in the 1800s.
The farmstead where we are today, my dad bought in 1972, so we celebrated 50 years last spring. And my brother Tom and I are co-owners and operators of the place now, so we're the second generation here. About 10 years ago, we bought Mom and Dad out all the way. And a couple years later, in 2017, we built our current office complex, the new freestall barn, and we put 6 Lely robots in. So today we are milking about 360 or so cows, and we farm about 1,000 acres where we grow pretty much all our corn, our forages, alfalfa, some winter wheat, occasionally some soybeans.
They have tried a lot of different land management practices to improve sustainability.
I guess number one was cover crops. We've tried various combinations, starting with just annual oats or barley that would freeze out in the fall. And we've eventually worked our way up to multi-species covers with legumes that fix nitrogen and winter rye or winter wheat that will overwinter and give us something green to plant into in the spring. We've stopped terminating our alfalfa fields in the fall. We now green plant into them in the spring. We combine a lot of our corn, almost half of it some years, if it's a good crop year anyway. So residue management that following year is a little bit of a challenge. We found a nice fit with strip tilling or zone tillage. We can make a fertilizer pass and clear some of that residue early, let the ground warm up, and get that corn off to a good start.
Cornette Dairy is pleased with the results of this 3-year study.
Just generally speaking, using the cover crop no-till system that I've just described in many cases here, it generally improves our water quality score by a factor of about 2. So if a high score is good, you'll double your score. If a low score is good on, say, soil erosion, you might cut your score roughly in half using that system, which is, I think, a pretty nice score. And we're also seeing greenhouse gas scores and energy use scores drop. That's something that, as part of Peninsula Pride and the farmer-led groups, we're just sort of starting to dig into. But yeah, I mean, like 20% lower energy use in those same systems, so that's making a big difference too.
Well, it's nice to see the data. They were already feeling the results on the farm.
It definitely helps the bottom line when you can successfully grow a crop without all those passes across the field. It makes a difference.
Paul hopes other farmers take advantage of the work and research being done. He says they've tried it all, so you can just jump right to the implementation step, saving time and money.
You can make conservation practices work, whatever your climate or geography is. I think that's been one of the strongest features maybe of Peninsula Pride and probably the other farmer-led groups as well, is that farmer-to-farmer aspect of it. We work with a number of scientists and experts to bring us ideas, whether it's UW Extension or the Nature Conservancy, private consultants, and more. It's one thing for somebody like that to stand in front of a group or to come into your yard and say, hey, this idea will work. It's different when there's a group of 5, 6, 12 farmers there and someone who has tried it and maybe tweaked it a little bit. And they're along for the ride, and they're contributing to the discussion, and just reinforcing that you can make it work. That really, it lends a different level of credibility to what the experts are saying, makes farmers believe a little more quickly. And by sharing those stories, successes or failures, what might have taken 7, 8, 10 years to perfect, or maybe you never perfected and you just give up after a few failures, now you're getting in 2 or 3 years sometimes, and it makes you want to try the next thing. And that's how I've landed where I am, where I just rattled off all the different things we've tried. And that's what a lot of our members have done. That's really been, I think, our biggest source of progress.
The study tracked 34,000 acres across 124 fields. You can read the results for yourself. We have a link in the Midwest Farm section of wearegreenbay.com. Bob Heath and his daughter Heidi have been proud farmers for their company Central Wisconsin Sod for 20 years. At 94 years old, Bob is still tending his land, providing high-quality sod to Adams County and beyond. This innovative sand-grown sod has been used for many team fields, like the Chicago Cubs, the Detroit Tigers, and more. With no sign of slowing down, Bob and Heidi continue providing quality sod and greenery to their clientele.
Yes, I'm 94 and a half, I guess. I'll be 95 in March. I don't know where those years have gone, but they sure have gone. So I'd give anything to be about 28 again and do it again. I have 4 daughters. This one, we've worked together for 30 some years. It's great. She's great to me. The story is we've never had an argument, and that's the truth. When we started, we didn't have a sale. We didn't know whether we'd ever sell anything. But it kind of caught on with that first sale, and then we've kind of grown and grown.
We have about 200 acres of sod now.
200 acres of sod now, and we started with 15.
So
a lot of people said, you can't do that. You can't grow sod on sand. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But the sand has caught on with the athletic fields for the drainage.
Number one is probably Wrigley Field. We've done that numerous times. We do work also with Kaminsky Park, the White Sox. We just delivered some sod over to Heather in Detroit Tigers. Field of Dreams in Dyersville.
Whistling Straits.
Whistling Straits, we've done work there. It isn't all about the money at the end. It is the gratitude or the satisfaction or the success of your product, and in turn they come back, and it just keeps growing from that.
Well, Jeremy Hansen here from Fox Valley Technical College for Life on the Farm. And joining me today is Bob Brown. Bob, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And Bob, you were actually on a Life on the Farm a couple years ago, weren't you?
Yeah, actually we have a drone that we use for livestock management, and we're actually flew it today. I got a new calf out there, so it's used 365 days a year, and so it's been very useful. And now we're on to other projects.
And that's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
And this is the project behind us. And could you explain, what is this?
Okay, this is something I recognized a long time ago that was possibly a need. And where we're going with that is I'd seen these Alice Chalmer Model Gs, cultivator tractors that they converted over to electric. So to me that looked like something that was, kind of a practical thing. But then I looked at practicality. And since I do drive a Prius and I got a technical background and I actually work on a lot of Priuses and Teslas and so on, I understand how this technology works, and I recognize that a full electric has some limitations. Basic limitation is when I'm in a far corner of my pasture, half mile out, and I'm low on electricity, nobody's bringing me 5 gallons.
Correct.
So that set in motion a situation here where I decided to convert this tractor over to being a hybrid.
Right, so the engine actually is
The engine
functional.
still works. The engine will work, and all it's simply done is I've gone in, and it only works on this older technology, this design, is I'm going in through the belt pulley. So this would technically work on any style tractor that still would have the belt pulley design. And so what it will do is when it can be worked as independent as just strictly a gas and or diesel, in this case it's gas engine, or it can run strictly off electric, or it can run off a combination of both.
Right, so Bob, it's more than just strapping a motor onto the tractor, correct? What did you have to do?
Let me tell you that this is where, so the controller, kind of hidden behind the test equipment here, is an off-the-shelf electric car controller that's used in aftermarket applications. Well, that's fine when you have a throttle. So most time, you think about your car, you're driving with a throttle. A tractor doesn't have a throttle as in a varying speed. You have a governor design, so you pull the throttle a specific thing, expect the tractor to stay at a specific speed. If it's 3 miles per hour, or you're going for 2,500 RPMs, whichever way you want to look at it. That turned into the biggest challenge in this whole thing. Nobody makes anything like that out there. So I'm working with a local technician, my friend Eric, he's brilliant, and we're building our own controller governor. And then the controller, now we've gone in with a high voltage, so this is 144 volts. A typical hybrids and electrics start out usually about 200 volts all the way up to about 800 volts. So we're in the low range, but we needed that higher voltage to keep everything cool and run reliably.
I would never call you like an average farmer. You do have some background that makes you a little more adept at some of this technology, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So all fairness, I grew up on the family farm. I've had a farmette and now a full-blown farm again, but I did work in the technical arena. I taught at the technical college in Wausau, and I worked for Snap-on Tools. I was a research engineer with them. So I had a chance to kind of grow up with technology. My main love is for farming. I hate to say it, but that is where my passion is. This just comes natural to me.
So Bob, you know, I really look forward to coming back in a couple years when you come up with something else that you want to do. It's about absolutely fascinating information here, and thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you coming out, and it's moving along. So because I'm back in June, July, it will be out used every day.
Right. Look forward to seeing that.
Thank you.
So for Life on the Farm, I'm Jeremy Hansen.
For decades, the Wisconsin Farm Center has offered support to the industry. A pretty new focus for their team is wellness. Program Supervisor Dan Bauer is here with a look at that impact. Good morning, Dan, to you.
Good morning, Melaine. Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the overview of what the Farm Center really offers to our state.
Yeah. So let's look at the full portfolio of services first. We really started doing financial consulting and transition planning, and that's something we did kind of in our origin in the mid-'80s, and it's something we do to this day. Okay. We also have a conflict mediation program, and additionally, we offer veteran farmer assistance and outreach. We also have a veterinarian on staff that does veterinary diagnostic analysis. And then our newest service, which you mentioned, is a farmer wellness program that we launched here in summer of 2020.
And this is really a multi-pronged approach to wellness, right? You have sort of immediate need help if somebody is in a bit of a crisis and needs someone to talk to, but you also have some longer-term solutions. Talk through the different choices.
Yeah, and you really framed it well. And really the way this came to be, in 2019, we did a lot of research, just trying to learn what the barriers are to farmers seeking help, and really what farmers are looking for in these kind of services. And I love that you use the term multi-pronged, because that's really how we see it. What we try to do is offer different dimensions of service depending on a unique farmer's situation and needs. And so I like how you started it. The first thing we offer is our 24/7 helpline, and it really is kind of what you described. It's available for a farmer or a farm family member in Wisconsin to call any day of the week, any hour or minute of the night. It's designed to just give you that in-the-moment relief to try to help you get through a crisis. And really, you set it up well. You know, after they've had that call or two to that line, we try to move them to something that can offer a little bit more consistent and longer-term support. And we really have two main options there. we contract with a professional telecounselor who's actually from rural Wisconsin, has actually made a career off helping farmers and helping rural Wisconsinites. And what we like about that service is she's familiar with farm values, she's familiar with farm culture, and she can do appointments with farmers over the phone or online with video. And so a farmer can have an appointment with our contracted telecounselor without even leaving their home.
Put that auto steer on. You can do it in the tractor. No excuse.
Absolutely. I know for a fact that there's clients that actually talk to our telecounselor while they're feeding calves or while still in the barn. But then there also is a portion of farmers that still value and prefer that in-person discussion, that relationship with a counselor where you can shake their hand, see them eye to eye, read body language. And for those type of clients, we have our in-person counseling voucher program. And what that program does is we're able to issue vouchers to a client that they can use to redeem no-cost 60-minute in-person counseling sessions from our robust counseling provider network.
I always like to hear the number that you are serving, the number of phone calls, but to me the number that stands out is the number of vouchers redeemed. That means people use this service and they are truly reaping the benefit of it.
Yeah, you and I are thinking so much alike. That's the number I pay attention to. I mean, you can issue a whole lot of vouchers, but if nobody uses them, have you really made a difference? And I'm glad you brought up redemptions. We were really astounded. So our state fiscal year runs from July to June. And so our last fiscal year just was completed here June 30th of 2023, and we redeemed 217 vouchers. That's the first time in the program's 15-year history that we redeemed over 200 vouchers, and that was a 35% increase over the prior fiscal year. So we feel that demand is growing. We feel like clients must be getting value from the sessions they're doing. A couple other stats, if you don't mind. For every 5 vouchers that we issued, over 4 were redeemed. So we're at an 85% redemption rate. And what that means is when we send a voucher out the door, it is more likely than not to get used. And the other stat that I just love to quote is of all the vouchers that we issued last year to unique farmers, 97% of those farmers actually used them.
Wonderful.
So our team is doing an awesome job making the help available, getting the help to the farmers, and then doing the follow-up to make sure that those sessions are leveraged and taken advantage of.
And finally, for those people who like to sit back and consume media, you have some options. Whether it's an online support group, you have some podcasting options.
Yeah. So we do have a podcast, like you said, the Rural Realities podcast. You can find it on our website, which is farmcenter.wi.gov. We do an episode about every other month. And really the intent with that is to try to have content available. We talked about evergreen content. So these are topics that you can step into, whether the podcast is 3 years old or 3 weeks old. And then the other thing, I'm so glad you brought that up, we're doing online support groups. And this program has just been an astronomical success in my mind. We started it in February of 2021, so very soon we'll be starting our 4th year. And I was just looking, when you look at that 2021 launch year, we're nearly up 400% in attendance now compared to then. So we're doing more sessions, the sessions are attended more frequently. What we like is we usually cap attendance at 8 to 10 participants. That ensures that everybody gets a chance to speak. They meet for about 1 hour and they're able to build relationships with each other, relationships with a trained peer leader with a farm background, and then also a counseling professional. So just really, really awesome. I think that program grew about 40% year over year comparing the last 2 years, and then 150% the year before that. So again, nearly 4 times when we started. Incredible. So just an astronomical success in my opinion.
Well, thank you for the work that your team is doing at the Farm Center. If you're a person who likes to know how the dollars are at work from our state budget, this is the answer. Farmer wellness, mental health, making sure that those needs are met. We'll have all the links to connect with the Farm Center in the many different ways, their podcasts, certainly by phone, via email on our website. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again.
So here's our liquid precipitation stats as we head into the middle portion of December, running very much below average. We're at 26.83 inches of liquid precipitation, and we are running way below where we were at this point last year. Snow is also on the deficit as well. We are totaling 5.6 inches of snow here in Green Bay. We usually sit around 8.3, and we're not expecting a whole lot of snow over the next 10 days, looking at the GFS model running out, again, 10 days from now. Maybe a little bit of snow up towards Marquette. We're not expecting any accumulation snow here in Green Bay, so we're not expecting any white Christmas, and the temperatures are not going to be supporting that at all. We're going to be in the 40s to near 34 on Monday, 33 Thursday, so our temperature outlook is putting us above average from December 21st to the 27th.